Oh yeah, it's the weekend and we gonna party. Yeah. That was a very bad rap. Also, it showed my vintage. I was born in 1927 and this was a very hot and happening song then. Hello and welcome. This is Cricbuzz Live. I'm Gaurav Kapur. I'm bright and cheery because I got me good friends here with me today and they're bright and cheery as well. I've got Mr. Joy Bhattacharjya joining us from an undisclosed library somewhere. I don't know where he is. Some
Books have
library.
changed.
The book. Did you read all the others? Have you? Did
No,
you
no,
finish
I
reading
just had to change it. People had seen all the other books, so I got some new books in another part of the room.
That's right, because we really do notice that. And we have Mr. Mpumelelo Mbangwa joining us from Pune, Navi Mumbai, Pune. Have you figured out where you are?
I think so. Let me just look outside. I think this is Navi Mumbai. Yeah, my room looks like this in Navi Mumbai. Yeah, different to when I'm in Pune.
The old Mumbai wasn't good enough for Pommy, so he's gone to new Mumbai. That's right.
Out with the old, in with the new.
In with the new. And that's what we're doing in this tournament, right? When you look at the points table, it's a lot of out with the old and in with the new, because it's the two new teams that are right at the top, Gujarat and Lucknow, and the two old war horses, Chennai and Mumbai. 9 titles between them. And, well, it's bad birdie for both of them. But we're not focusing on them right now. We're focusing on the Bangalore team, which is run by a South African and a New Zealander, and the Punjab team that is run by somebody from Bangalore. That's Anil Kumble. And that's what we're looking at the Brabant Stadium. This is match number 60. Ordinarily, Joy, this would have been the final game of the tournament, match 60.
I was just thinking that, your calculations all go. You said 60 matches. Wait a minute. This is when the tournament ends. And then you realize there's still 10 matches to go. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there's still, wait 1 second. 10 in just the league and then the playoffs.
Yeah. So you come to 74.
Yeah. You got 74 in total. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm teaching Joy numbers. This is a very strange. This is a very strange day. Coming on the back of Mumbai and Chennai getting eliminated 2 weeks before the tournament ends. Days keep getting stranger, Pommy.
Yeah, they do. I tell you what, as you said, the new teams right up at the top, and one of them with a lovely looking Q next to them. How good is that? The others are looking so enviously on. And we love it. I think I said when we were chatting somewhere down the line that we keep saying, oh, so-and-so's running away with it, and oh, so-and-so running away. These are going to be like dead rubbers. But without fail, season after season, we get to what is the business end, and it becomes this log jam. We don't know who it is who's going to qualify and so forth. And it's a kind of the fisticuffs going on, as we try and get it all sorted. So it's beautiful. And it continues again. Same again this year.
Same again. Percentages-wise, Joy, the odds-on might have a new winner, a brand new winner, hands on the cup that have never held it before, unless it was a trophy tour or something. But yeah, they've never held the cup before. Out of the top 5, there's only one trophy. That's Rajasthan.
Yep, there's only one trophy, and yeah, exactly. And the odds are that, in fact, if you look right there, right up to, Hyderabad is the last one you have out there. Punjab can make their way up there, but it's fascinating. You're absolutely right. The odds have never been higher for a new winner. They've never been higher, and that's quite something,
Honestly, even if Rajasthan were to win it, they won the first cup, which was, I think that was BC, wasn't it? It was so long back. So even if they win it, we'll just treat it as a new one. Basically, if you look down at the bottom of the table, that's 11 titles right there. Yes, Calcutta has just kind of momentarily jumped up, but till a couple of days ago, it was 8, 9, and 10. Had 11 trophies out of the 14 given out so far. But, well, Punjab's got a chance today to jump over Calcutta and go smack and sit with Delhi. They'll have to be a big win if they have to go above Delhi, because there is a 0.4, almost 0.4.5 differential in the net run rate there, because Punjab has lost a few games quite spectacularly. But, well, you can say the same about Bangalore as well. Joy, both these teams are just they're so good. And that's what makes it so frustrating, because they're just so volatile. When they win, they cream the opposition. And on some days, they just cream themselves.
Yeah, look, and that's what I was thinking about. That, if you look at the way these teams are structured, I was saying I can still believe that of Punjab. And the reason is
Yeah.
that Punjab is using what is traditionally the CSK approach, high volume batting side. They'll
Yeah.
put stuff on the table and they'll say we'll bat to anyone out of the game. And that's what they do.
Mm.
And every now and then they collapse and their batting does nothing. So I can still understand Punjab being really inconsistent, because the day their batting doesn't fire or they're bowling, because if their batting doesn't fire, look at this there. Win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, win. I mean, they just go all over the place. And yet I think that's the thing. And it's not even the grounds. They'll get a good ground. Their big problem is that if they score 180, they can't defend it. That's their big
Yeah.
problem. They recently, in their last match against Rajasthan, they got 188 and they could not defend it. So with a
Mm.
team like that, you just have to bat the other guys out of the match, which is why I was thinking that today is a brilliant toss, because whoever wins it, it suits both that Punjab bats first. What I
Yeah.
find interesting is Bangalore being such an inconsistent side, because Bangalore actually
Yeah.
has some really nice pieces. They have 2, 3 all rounders. They've got some nice batsmen at the top. They've got really good bowlers. They've
They
got
got
really
everything.
good
You're right.
bowling. They've got everything.
Yeah.
So it's Bangaluru's game which I really find funny. I think finally they've come to some sort of meaning with their order, and I hope now they can show some consistency, because they think they'll win one. If they win
Yeah.
one, I think they have a 90% chance of qualifying. They get that 8 point, they get that 16 point, that 8 win. I think that's a
Yeah.
90% chance of qualifying them.
So here's the thing. Let's just talk about Bangalore. They're unchanged today, and not surprising for me, because this is a really good balanced 11. You've got the quicks, you've got the bowlers at the beginning, you've got Harshal, who's your bank at the end, you've got Hasaranga taking the wickets in the middle, you've got all the youngsters or the relatively less experienced players scoring. You've got Lomror has scored, Shahbaz, Dinesh Karthik, old warhorse, he scored, Patidar has scored. Their problem this year has been the exact opposite of their problem from previous years, where only the big guns did all the work. This time, they're getting nothing from the big guns, Maxwell, Kohli, and Faf, barely anything.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing for them that they have these many points, and yet we speak about them as a side that's kind of trying to find where they're going to and how they're going to operate. So the Kohli subject has been big, and of course it's going to be on everybody's lips. The fact that Maxwell kind of showed something and then has been inconsistent since. The fact that Faf sort of started up at the top and then he hasn't gone on as well. It all has kind of a little bit gone under the radar, the Faf and the Maxwell story, because Kohli hasn't been getting runs. And when he's got them a little bit on the slow side. So he's a whole story on his own. And you kind of look and say, well, okay, so here's this big story. Where are they? They're like 9th and 10th, and will they fail again? Will they not qualify? No, they're up there with everybody else. And in fact, it looks like they will qualify, like by winning one more game. So perhaps in terms of arriving at a team that they feel they can go with many of the pieces working well right now, and the others just needing to click into place, they are well set. Because if Kohli starts to get runs, and not necessarily many runs, he just needs to fire off a few blows and get the side started up at the top, and du Plessis do what du Plessis normally does, which is bat a decent amount of time. Then you have your Maxwells and everything else, and DK to come and finish, and generally that will work well. And their bowling has been gone. They've got these couple of guys who internationally are really good and have turned up here and have gone quite nicely. And I'm talking about Hazelwood and Hasaranga. Then in terms of the complement, the only guy who you'd say, oh, they want a bit more from him is probably Siraj. But again, I'll say, I think it might be a case of you've got to take the positive out of all of this and say, we'll probably peak at the right time, because now is the right time for any of those to kind of start finding form. And if they do, then it's kind of qualifiers and into the final sort of thing.
Let's talk about Maxwell for a second. Joy, the interesting thing is he doesn't look out of form, right? he will just pull out one outrageous shot, which requires so much confidence and form, but somehow he's just not staying long enough.
He's not staying long enough. I think there were a couple of situations where he couldn't. He came in too late and he just had to press on the accelerator. But yes, exactly that. See what happens, and what I was thinking on exactly as Pommy was saying is, if your big guns have got you here so far, okay, and they've won 2, 2, 3, 3 matches, which is the case normally. AB will win a couple of matches for you. Virat will win a couple of matches for you. They all rode up, and you've reached there 8, 9, and then one of these guys fails. They're out of it. Here you have this really potent situation where all these big boys are sitting, who have done nothing. I mean, Faf has done really well in the first day. After that, he hasn't really done much of note. So what I'm saying is there's all that firepower, which is like tinder, it's not hitting. Maxwell. So you say odds on, these are great players. The odds of these guys getting a big one sooner rather than later are very high. And that's exactly why everyone is fancying Bangalore's chances at this point in time. That's what.
Let's have a look at this. Yeah, let's have a look at the Punjab team. They've just made the one change, and that's probably a change looking at conditions, because they've got Harpreet in for Sandeep. So Harpreet Brar comes in for Sandeep Singh. I guess they're just looking at the conditions and saying, all right, we need the slower option. Sorry, in place of Sandeep Sharma, not Sandeep Singh. And Harpreet comes in place of him. But I'm just going to get Pommy in on the point that Joy made about the batting approach of Punjab, because they did it. You're right. They came in, you saw them at the auction, you said, all right, this is how they're going to play. They're going to throw their big guns in. They're going to play in one way, almost like how Brendan McCullum wants Knight Riders to play, or how, England played white ball cricket in the last few years. They did that. They backed themselves. They played the first game against Bangalore and chased this humongous target. And you said, oh, contenders. But then 1 or 2 games, it didn't work for me. And they just seemed to drop that approach.
Yeah. So, I mean, you look at that scorecard, it's exactly how they want the scorecard to be, where guys are just going at it, all guns blazing. That is kind of, if you were to look for an imprint, that would be it. However, if you're going to take that approach, you've got to accept the bad as well, because it's high risk. And because it is high risk, surely you sit there and you say, do you know what? We could be 100 all out here sometime with the way these guys play. If we are, such is life. So let's not worry about that. It can happen. If it happens, we just cross it out, forget about it. So there was a steeliness of nerve required and a courage of convictions to say, listen, this is going to happen. And hey, let's not get down about it. We knew this beforehand. We knew that in this format, if we're going to be aggressive, and we want to be aggressive, and we back our aggressive games, we know that if you play a different way, which is the softly approach, you're not going to be as effective as we want to be. So even if it means 14 games, we're going to end up with just 3 having won. And let us agree that the approach is that we're going to be aggressive. Having agreed that, let's talk about what aggressive means and how we go about being aggressive. And if we back the guys we feel are the most suited to whatever the places are, whichever the grounds are, the guys will figure it out as they go along. It's one thing to be aggressive. It's a whole other thing to be reckless. And the coaches are not saying be reckless, and the players don't want to be reckless. They want to take on who they should take on. They want to take on boundaries they should take on and situations they should take on. And that's what the choices would be over the 14 games. And you'd back internationals, you'd back these good players to get it right over time if they keep trying to do what it is they want to do.
Yeah, they changed, Joy, because, the mere fact that both Shah Rukh Khan and Odin Smith, the 2 destructive kind of finishers that they had, they benched them along the way. It just shows that not only did they change their conviction, it's not like they told the existing personnel to play differently. They just changed the personnel.
They changed the personnel and they brought in some really nice pieces. I mean, I really like the look of Jitesh Sharma, because Jitesh Sharma is playing the situation and he's playing really well. And Rishi Dhawan, again, wily old guy. You have to love these guys, because Rishi Dhawan is a legend in the domestic circuit. Every year he
Yeah.
gets 600-700 runs, gets 30-40 wickets. He does it all. He's had this face fracture, got a mask on while playing. But that's the kind of spirit you admire. And look, these are again resilient guys. These guys are out there to play. They're out there and they therefore give you, for whatever Odean Smith is a one-dimensional player. He plays it only one way. And he's not always the best decision maker under circumstances. And I think guys like Jitesh Sharma perhaps can hit the ball just as hard, but I think they have a slightly better idea of when to try and hit that ball that hard. I mean, again, Shah Rukh Khan is one of those guys who he's got everything, he just looks out of form. And when you're out of form like that, nothing seems to work. He waits for his chance, he goes for one big hit, he gets caught at the boundary. That was what's happening to him.
Yeah, and the guy we were not counting in all of this, we were looking at Liam Livingston and Johnny Bairstow, of course, the captain, Shikhar Dhawan, Shah Rukh Khan, Odean Smith. You were looking at everyone, and there comes this youngster, just below the radar, Jitesh, right? He says, wait a second, how many wicket keepers do you have? Yeah, Johnny Bairstow, Rajapaksha, hang on a second. I'll take that position and I will bat well. Look at his strike rate. And we've got a good story on him, haven't you, Joy? You can give us something from
apparently
are you going to give us something from retro reels, or is this Joy Factor?
This is more Joy Factor than retro reels, but great story. The army has produced so many great sportsmen for the country, from Milkha Singh to Colonel C.K. Naidu. There's so many of them. But this guy actually wanted to join the Air Force. He's just from a middle-class Maharashtrian family, wants to join the Air Force. He hears that apparently to get selection, if you play for the state team, you get 4% more marks. Oh. So he goes in, he's bizarrely the other way around. He goes in to play cricket to get those extra marks. And then he goes and he actually does it. And he says, hey, well, I got selected. So that's it. Hey, you've done well. Try again. Go to the under-19. And he keeps playing. And he's from Maharashtra, so he plays for Vidarbha, which is one of the places in Maharashtra. And he starts doing famously well. And Jitesh, the best thing about him, we talk about hitting sixes and all. Who is the highest six hitter in this is Mushtaq Ali. It's not Shah Rukh Khan, it's none of these guys. It's Jitesh Sharma has hit in 18 sixes in the tournament. So 18 sixes at a strike rate of 150 in the tournament. So he was one of those guys. What is actually surprising is when you look back at all this, how did he go for base price? That's actually the real surprise to me right now.
The scouts were caught napping, Pommy. Huh?
Well, yeah, perhaps, but clearly not. What you would say.
One set of scouts are not napping, which is the Punjab scouts, but everybody else was napping.
100%. You say, well, and it's a case very much of, and Jitesh has kind of balanced things out for them. Because the expectation sometimes, and you look at the way Odean Smith was in the side, every team tries to cover many bases. And Odean Smith was being asked to play a role as bowler batter and have both roles go well as a young guy who's turning up for the first time in IPL, which is going to be rather tough. And you could have a scenario where one of those works and you're a bit, what do we do? Do we keep him for the one that's working, or do we remove him for the one that's not working? And it's a difficult thing because you've bought the guy, right? And you've bought him for a decent amount of money, and he's not an international, but he is, and he kind of, so caught in the headlights. They decided to shift, and I think they shifted more because of the bowling side. At the back end, if you miss, if you miss because
and they were missing a lot,
whack sixes, and but up above it was missing and was missing below as well. So they shift with regard to the bowling, and they therefore have to shift as well. And Jitesh, man, that's like, okay, we know he can do this. Will he do it? Let's see. And it's not just kind of a left field selection. It's a trying to balance things selection, and it's balanced things beautifully. And before, who had they brought in to come in? I think Sandeep wasn't playing actually, because it would be Odean who would play, because he could then bowl seam as well. So there are two changes that they make, and it works beautifully because two local guys come in and they do half decently. Sandeep hasn't gone as well as he could have done and normally has done in the past, but Jitesh comes in and does well. So bases covered, and can they too then look to peak as they get to what is the business end now. They'll hope they can. They're a good side. I like the way they look, and they're an exciting side. And if they played to sort of true to form, to character, it'd be great to watch.
Well, the scouts were kind of caught napping on the other side as well, or rather, they were not napping, is when they got Rajat Patidar in, who nobody picked in the auction, Joy. So he came in as an injury replacement for
Lovemeet Sisodia.
There you go. He comes in for Sisodia. Nobody's picked him in the auction, but he's been part of Bangalore last year, so they know him. They're like, all right, let's bring him because, we like playing musical chairs at number 3. Rajat Patidar says, wait a second, not anymore.
No, absolutely. And I think what has really happened for them in the matches they've won, the last few matches, and they've done well, is that even though Virat Kohli has failed, they've not allowed that much pressure to come on Faf because he's been accelerating the scoring. I mean, that is a big thing, with 4 matches, 137, but his strike rate is 135. And he's managing to keep that pressure up, take the risks, because what Bengaluru does not want is for Faf to take risks early, especially if Virat is out. So they don't want Faf to take chances. They'll get Rajat Patidar to go in. He's done brilliantly for them. And it's really interesting because, I think Rajat will look at them and say, guys, you tried me out 2 seasons ago. You tried me out. You knew what I was all about. I mean, the least you could have done is pick me in the auction.
Yeah, but, he's not holding that grudge because he's been brought in as an injury replacement and he's really made that number 3 spot his own. He's pretty much coming in as an opener half the time, right? Because one of the two big guns is going out early. In fact, Sanjay Bangar even said that he actually takes the pressure off Faf in the first 6 overs because we really feel the pressure in the first 2 overs after losing Virat. So, Patidar comes and gets the job done, takes the pressure off in the first 6 overs. So that's pretty good. Good for the youngster. We've got an Ask Cricbuzz Live question. Let's have a look. Who's it come from? Bring it on the screen. Yogesh Punjabi. Are you a Punjab fan? Of course he is. Does it make sense for Mayank, who is not a noticeably worse opener than Johnny? This big English, bro. Big English. To demote himself in order to allow Bairstow to come back to form. So it's happened already in 2 games. Pommy, he's asking if you like the idea or not.
I liked the idea when they did it. I think also you don't bat position, you bat situation. So right up at the front, Mayank wasn't really able to get them started. Yes, he a couple of innings where you thought maybe he's going okay, good, what would you call it, kind of good body language and all the rest. I'll agree in that it's not kind of noticeably out of form as he plays. It's just this is a results game. And the results haven't been there, despite him looking like he's in decent enough touch. And also, to balance it, the reason you end up going that route is you want to put your players, your blue chip players, in the positions that will kind of get you your returns. And with Bairstow, where has he done well? He's done well at the top. And so if you can get him up there and bank on that at some point he's going to sort us out and we'll be okay, then that's what you do. And what then happens is, as has happened with Mayank, he'll keep sliding should he need to keep sliding and the situation has changed. If it's like 1 down in no time, then Mayank will go in and he'll do what he does. He can make the adjustment. There's no problem. So I don't mind that change. I think give your big player a chance to succeed and it'll help everyone.
40 and 140. Average of 40, strike rate of 140 is Johnny Bairstow as an opener. Sorry, Joy, you wanted to add something about Bairstow?
Just very interesting. What they've done here, I think once Odean Smith goes out, what they've managed to do is they brought Rajapakse in. So what they've done is they've bolstered that 1, 2, 3, 4 position. Instead of having the weight of Odean at 6, they've said, okay, Jitesh Sharma will take care of 6, and they've got that top 4, they've got themselves another international batsman in there. And what's happening is that's what's allowing, that saying is that even Bairstow and Shikhar Dhawan are going to play with much more freedom because they've got the Mayank, Liam Livingstone, Bhanuka, Rajapakse, all 3 are fairly renowned international batsmen. So it just gives them that much more freedom. I think Rajapakse entering the 11, giving that little bit more of batting solidity, gives Bairstow and Shikhar Dhawan a little bit more, behind.
License.
They'd feel much more confident
Yes,
of that than having Godian Smith at 6. That's the difference in the game.
Absolutely. And there's, of course, Shikhar Dhawan, who is still getting you the runs. He is your bank in every season, your 400, 450 run bank. So when he bats, when he has some confidence of the people coming behind him, you can see what he's doing. And Liam Livingstone, I love him. For me, perhaps the most exciting international batter on the scene right now. We've seen what he's done with Birmingham, and we've seen what he's done here. He's right behind Shikhar, in fact, 315 runs. So I think the second highest scorer for Punjab this time. And forget the number of runs. Look at that strike rate. It's 184. He's almost scoring at 2 runs a ball, and he's got 350s there. He's fantastic. I wouldn't even mind seeing him up front. I wouldn't mind seeing him getting more overs to play. Perhaps see him in the power play. Come on, hit him. He doesn't need the power play, actually. He hits some big sixes.
Correct. We got to make sure we're not getting greedy,
Of course we are.
I remember us at the start at Joy. I think we were together, and I can't remember if it was Gaurav who was with us. And I said, Hardik's done so well at 5, at 6 and 7. Now, who's going to do the finishing job? And I say, hold on, guys. There'll be others there, and there are jobs that each one has to do in various places. Now, Livingston, it would be nice if he could go in for a really long time, but he goes in when the platform is set. And many people think, oh, hold on, why doesn't he go in, set the platform, then hit more sixes, then you can get 7,000 and you can't lose, But that's not how the game works. It's never
Why not?
Work.
I want it to work like that. He plays 100 balls and hits 600. I want Liam Livingstone to hit 600 runs. So that, and at least if it happens in one game, then 8 IPLs from now, that can become a joy factor question. Right?
Exactly.
That becomes a joy factor question, which we will take now. And today, that's a little less administrative work for me because the horse is here. So hear it from the horse's mouth.
Okay. Basically only once have, it's, test match batsman getting out bowled is not a very common thing, especially in the top order. But in the 21st century, there's been a match where 7 Indian batters have been dismissed bowled in one innings. And one bowler took 4 of those wickets. So just who was the bowler? He took actually 5 wickets in total, but 4 of them were bowled. Who was this batter? It happened in the 21st century. Note, Gaurav, in the 21st century. I'm actually asking a question about the 21st century.
And it has something to do with yesterday's game. Hint, hint. All right, send your answer. Sometimes the thing is, sometimes we can over hint a question, so that makes you over guess it. I'll also tell you that the answers has something to do with the sun sign Taurus. That's not true.
I love it. I need you as my hint expert every time.
I'll just be there with you. Just take me to quizzes. All right. Hashtag Cricbuzz Live. Hashtag Joy Factor. Tweet in your answer. We just have one piece of business before we scoot from here, before we get on our bikes. Is how much is Punjab going to score batting first? Is it going to be 90, 190, 290? I don't know. It's anybody's guess. What are they going to get? Is that those are guesses? 90, 190, and 290?
Those are nice guesses, but Liam Livingstone is not yet opening.
Yeah.
Okay, so who does it? Who's going first? Pommy, you go first. All right.
I'll go first. I think that they're going to score 194.
Ooh, biggie. All right, Joy.
181. Since he's going high, I might as well grab him by the coattails and follow him.
So 181, 194. All right, I'll just go on the other side. Go big or go home. I'm going to go 202.
Oh, I thought you'd go much further lower. Oh,
No. Go big or go home. Come on. You know what the pitch is? There's going to be 140 pitches, isn't it? Always happens to me. All right, we'll see you at the end of the 10th over. By that time, we will know whether they're on course for 200 or on course for 140. That'll be Cricbuzz Combox when we come to take stock of Punjab's batting effort. Right now, I want to thank Joy Bhattacharjya and Mpumelelo Mbangwa. Thank you for joining us on Cricbuzz Live. I'm Gaurav Kapur saying stay tuned, stay with us this evening. Lots more excitement coming up.